Ḳáaganshí La.oos Tláa Daasdiyáa tagish kuka achlíl tagisteach oesatín ka hutsu Daasdiyáa La.oos Tláa Ḳáaganshí Ida Calmegane. Déisi tan seo wachat ag hat kusagénk ewa achlílkuin etnacha guts wedu de wak wetil tiltuskeen ja Jan de Shani de wak le hoot kudau kuduki ye we khata khain ye khat kusagénk ach inachkasnik nijin awe etwitu adi aqa kiltsaak jisawe etnachtu ech qachis chadasa ye kusagénk dleyes etwitu at awe yukhata khanich chleinach tiltitoshku de naqqutqagudi aqawi yukhata dasi ye awasau kushtaqa ikuxha yukhata khanich awe achtoasigu was Daasdiyáa asakushtaqa awe chatlok achtuna hichinich ya kinder gen ya yaxatne shawat khatne stik aqa chu altikit aqa yehes hadaqanich atjet hasati kushtaqa guguxha tillet niguch tletlenach yukhot yuhes hadayaqa atlatlok ortutna hichta yehes asak kushtaqa awe ya Tlaayan de Shani you tleket meeten de hesu at hesu du hoch you anthropologist yes du sagu at tleket ag hates et you fighters awe tlenaqa kuk de yetin and khoda awe nik de yetin kashnik you Tlingit Tanana River you it the sagan Hesawe yehes qain you on dot can higi hesachot wuguden jagi awe we cook kada akaushikit you Tlingit has to in a keniging awe a khwatu we cook askiwe on dot can higi dot askiwe ye qatengen we qa Daasdiyáa Robert McKinnon Yedisagan Professor Robert McKinnon from Anchorage ye jidnain we clock you Master to a sock, Tanana River, Akwe, Ye at ʼunei. Just the cat, as the cat ada has we got you hot on has ʼunei. Clean, take a tea shower chan away, till ada et wugudi yes. As how do that chan would do it to zenuk. Tis gone is least handach higudi ye died ka. You least the han kanu. The han near ye kanu and sit gunsan the least of at wuti, hutu at uaha, ye den at uaha, aka the tasagu. You shakawe a tin. The tasagu Georgie of Uwyeche. You shaka as tinny. As Georgie Asi clean. Ye deity. And the least ye daka. You tlada. You are the kagut. You achtasagu. You as Ixsani. Doch we did the name. The sleep ye died, tis a nacht ni good, ye died the kach, you at a cut to the chanka. Watch an were good. Jaya cano sleep, you tach ya, you could hat casatin at goody, you a diaca. Take tis other naguya died the catch on away other were good. Jack na Steve ya khosnishkedi awet as the cat car nesasu et. Rusu that hand died the car. Ach that hand you taxi Chiquita were good. Georgie dach his Tis nagu, tis other nagu you dach catch on were good. As the cat car at has a car at which has a test with she. Ja on away tis Jaquera has to eat needs just a cat. Aka when necessu art. You heart as the ʼunei away just a cat car than a etch. A yan den has ne niche, you talk niche, as how it as a cat the has ne etch, you hot yes. We click a tea with we call the say master to a sock at kahini click you call we at osiku as a cat osiku who would a sena show kashan at good you Shakide, Shakide etna guch just a ketye etna guch with kayes. Aka uwe chak ude uwe at uwe ach. Tlingit at shokiyak uwe du ach. Tilkwa Tlingit seti. Uwe just the hande out un. And Cook City, yeah, which is like, where car, where card do shut away. It is, who's kind of, has, who's kind of, kinder has it atsti. Awe, it's a dakuki here, has a shock. Aga awe, then on 16, we, yet it gets go, who to shut away, ye has a done. You, on that Kanahigi, you, has a sock. Ja ancha has the lit, ye kuyat. Where Kashan then say has to hunt a good then a good and yeah can edit away next has the edge you it just like it you shot lane away at two the has the edge you a coal has the coal city. Ja, na can edit away. Ja, can the edit away. Ne das the edge. Ja, on just like taught in. Ag has the teach. Aga away. Sits taught away. Ne adach has the edge. And we caution we this we're gone just to click adach nil na edge just a khana just a code in the has na edge akatsa to tatwe adach na has na edge could you did with yet isane has to jidach has a slaat nation had certainly nach etwa goodie det so has tilsnes has art niche we caution nil good and has the in a canic wasser at has octini yeah da yeah moon yeah this this yeah this yeah this Ḳáaganshí I other kartu art you has a daika just like cat way shortly now it just like Cody Wool La could you then has a tea easy gachtus gedid gachtus ni yo akawit like way shawachan way late way kashan again kartut ka good other kartut katula art agate Anya kartusane ka we akahati agate with it other artist slogoke we good in kartu de shahasta kartut yo eka we yeah we has osani just a cat car just a cat Ye has ocean you could do ye. Awe ye have you unique. It's a way this ye has you on that Kanahigi Yadach this ya at Kustinich aka you Tlingit Anne this ye et Satinich. Oh. When I was a little girl, my grandmother used to tell us stories all the time, and me and my little cousins and stuff, and she always told us not to go away too far. And my parents, my mother, always tell us, "Don't go away too far. Kushtaka going to get you." And I wondered why they tell us that, you know. And all my life I wondered about it, Kushtaka. And anyway, one time when my mother was alive, there was a gathering of anthropologist people in Whitehorse, and because my mother did a lot of storytelling for them, they invited her to come too. And because I was a caregiver, I took her down there, and I was listening to them talking and stuff. And while I was there, the one man, his name was Robert McKinnon, and he was an anthropologist from the University of Alaska in Anchorage. And he had written a whole bunch of stories from the people in the Northway around in that area, Copper River Indians. And when I picked up that book and I was leafing through it, and I noticed a story about the long-tailed ones, so I started reading it, and I recognized a story that I had heard when I was little about these long-tailed ones being around here, and in our language we call it Ondat Kenehigi. And I wondered about that. Why did we have a name for monkeys and we don't have any around here? And I found out that this family, the community, there was a village people. When it's time to fish, the people, they just spend all their time fishing, because you know the winters long time ago used to be really cold and long, the winters, and the people have to cut fish and stuff and dry it, not only for themselves too, but they travel around with dogs. In the summertime they have dogs to help them pack, and they have to feed their dogs too, so they used to dry lots of fish. And anyway, the whole community was down in the fish camp, and everybody went down there, little kids and all, because they could pack fish and stuff. They could do things too. They had one old lady in the camp that was helpless. She wasn't able to do very much, so they left her teenage grandson with her, and they told him to feed her. They left their food and stuff for him to feed his grandmother and himself, and they told him not to leave her, to stay there all the time. And here, after a while, he had nothing to do, so he looked up on the mountainside, on the hillside there, just above their camp. There's a big stretch there, was sort of like a meadow before you, not a meadow, but it was a flat place before you climb the mountain. And they had their camp in between that mountain and the river. And he went up, he told his grandma he's going to go up there for birch trees. That's what they make snowshoes out of. And she told him not to go. Don't go, she told him. They told you not to go. Grandma, he said, just sit here and look up that hillside. You're going to see me walking around. Those trees right there, he said, on the hillside. It's just, you just sit here and you could watch me, he told her. And he went. And that even when people started to get dark, everybody come back from the fishing. And they asked her, where is he? Where's your grandson? She said he went up there to get some birch trees. He wanted to make that him up on that hillside. I couldn't see him up there, she said. So there was a whole bunch of teenagers. They ran around all over in the bush there looking for him, hollering for him, hollering for him. There was nothing, not a sign of him, no place. They couldn't see him, no place. And they finally came home. They couldn't find him. And there's the one wise man in the village. He was sort of like a medicine man. He never gave up. He went up the mountain. He went up on high mountains, around high hills, and look around for days. He did that. And finally one day he heard something making noise. And he couldn't figure out what that noise was. He listened and listened. And he watched which way the wind was blowing and everything. And he kept coming closer and closer. And he was hiding and hiding until he came to the meadow. He got to this meadow. He saw those things. Long-tailed ones. They had long tail. And they had hands. And they used their hands just like human hands. And they had that boy's head, and they were making a ball out of it. They throw it to each other, and when they miss it, when that head fall down on the ground, that's what they were laughing at. Just like they were laughing. And he watched them really good. And he saw which way they were going and stuff. He got out of their way, but he watched which way they go. And here he saw them. They go into the dens. They had lots of dens in that mountain. Dens all over the place. All over the place there in that mountain. There was just lots of them. And that man, he watched them. And he stayed there until morning sometimes, and he see them come out of the dens. But once they go in, they never come out until it's good daylight. Then they come out. And then he made a meeting with all the people in the village, and he told them what he saw and what he thought. And he said that we could get rid of them easy because, he said, when the moon is full, he said, and it's just, moon is bright daylight, just like daylight when the moon is full, he said, then we can go there and we can smoke them out, we can asphyxiate them. And if some of them come out, he said, we'll be standing right at the mouth of the den, and we'll club them with our clubs. He got them to make good solid clubs, and that's what they did. They got ready before the moon was full. They got their brush and stuff they were going to make fires with. They found all the dens on that mountainside. There was lots of dens there. They found all the dens, and they made sure that there was 2 or 3 people in each den, and in case they all rushed out and stuff. And so that's what they did. They made the fire there, and they made smoke. People, when they make smoke, they put blankets in front of the smoke like that, and then they make the smoke go the right way. Anyways, they fixed it, asphyxiated them, some of them in the den. Some of them tried to run out, and they killed them right at the den. All the monkeys. That's say how they got rid of them on that Kanahigi. And I asked, I was at a meeting one time at celebrations in Juneau, and they had a elders' room there, and there was 2 old ladies sitting there in a corner, and they were talking Tlingit to each other, I listened to them talking, and after a while, when they weren't talking anymore, I came up to them and I introduced myself to them, and I told them where I came from, and I asked them if they ever heard about ʼúch Tláa. And a lady said, "Yeah, we know ʼúch Tláa." They say we got a family living up the valley from our village. They said, when the wind blowing down, she said, we could hear their babies cry. Just sound like our babies, she said. We don't bother them and they don't bother us, she said. When it getting dark and we're picking clams and stuff on the beach, she said, we go home. We go home when it starts to get dark, she said. And they come down them. When it's moonlight, they go down there and they pick clams and stuff in the moonlight and stuff, she said. We stay away from the beach when they come down, she said, because they come down and fish and stuff. Them too, she said. And I think she was talking about Sasquatch. I'm not sure what she was talking about. But that's what they were telling me. Somebody knocking? When I was a young girl, my father used to tell us about his Uncle Bert, and he lived in Skagway, and he grew up in Douglas. There was an Indian village.
You're going to talk in Tlingit.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you in English first.
No, just tell it in Tlingit.
Okay. Ach, we tluk in a Canadian do cock away Skagway ʼunei away ha chat a good to shut in Ţáganis yeah shawat chatns teeny we hatis it. Yeah, we has Knuganich Jagakaw we ha in Skilnik. You hatayaka akshat su ak 18 aka akik yekusigenk hukra. You hadayaka tlach yaha kosti away you genti yakyati you hin nadai in you yak in adak at vitu a koch in the Koolyeik as you hin away you yana koch you at ech yana you ayach uhan kwad you yak ha yek ha kosti you yakyati. Then we at vitu a koch you yak it gaden naniji you we ha kosti satin you had daika masa at ʼunei ha ik we gutuda ha gochtet ha jakpatan you has daik you hatai daka til ase Tlingit yach til adel Tlingit cho just le way yakuwi just like then equatin you yeah Johnny John Uhan yak yit to clean and the master at Koni Kekoni tilskaded to tilskaded with to Shadi set as how ik at the to the hagachtus at the Kone had did with tea you had died it's how to could you then with how eat to with to a height I really am. My father's uncle and his wife, they lived in Skagway. One of his uncles, they lived in Skagway, and it's the custom of the people a long time ago to talk to the young girls. And my sister and I and my young cousin was there. In our tradition, we call our cousins sisters on my mother's side. So they always refer to my cousin as my sister, my young sister. She wasn't very old, and she must have been about 7 years old, I guess, something like that. I don't think she even remembered what he was saying and stuff because she really couldn't understand what he was saying. And anyways, he sat us down after dinner one night, and he told us that we have to be careful when we're growing up about how we conduct ourselves in public and stuff. And he said, you have to. Your life is just like like sitting in a canoe. He said, you're going down the rapids. He said, and he said there's a big dance hall going on, and he said, and you have to mind your canoe when you're going through the rapids, because if you don't take care of the canoe, he said, you could tip over. You got to be careful what you're doing. You got to keep your eye on your canoe. Never mind about what's going on the beach and stuff, he said. Just make sure you really mind what's going through the rapids. He said, that's the way life is, he said. He said, if you make a mistake when you're young, he say, it's up to your brother to take you into the bush and leave you there. He say, you must behave yourself. He say, you can't have any children out of wedlock. You have to make sure you have a husband before you have any families and stuff. He told us, and he said that's the way life is. He said, you keep your eye on your canoe and make sure that you pay attention to where you're going and never mind what's going on the beach and stuff, he told us. And boy, that really scared the living daylights out of us, my sister and I, and especially when he said that it was up to our brothers to take us away and stuff like that. I never ever heard of that going on in my lifetime, but I know that some girls get into trouble and stuff, and people don't treat them very good, and so that's what he was telling us. We had to behave ourselves and stuff, and that's one of the things that the old people used to make sure of, that they have somebody talk to your children, the daughters and stuff, and tell them how to behave and stuff, and how to dress appropriately. And now it's so different, and you see girls walking around with little halter tops and stuff like that, and just dress inappropriately. And sure is different than when we were growing up and stuff. And I was telling my granddaughters that they not to show off their belly button and stuff. And I laughed when I think about it after, because it's I remember when my grandma used to tell us that, you know, and we thought it was so funny when she was telling us things like that. And then now I do that to my grandkids, to my granddaughters and stuff, and it really tickles me to hear myself repeating what Grandma used to say to us. So that's good. You khatji and yediyaki Kutkan khagut you khatji Ayah kadan George khatka khagudi hey 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 honey haya hey honey haya You khatji and yediyaki Kutkan khagut you khatji Ayah kadan George khatka khagudi hey ay hey ay Janice Taukeya Tlingit ani Ekakaya Koolyeik Roby You're too teenage, you're Ḳáaganshí Ida honey hi Janice Taff August Tlingit ani Ekakaya Koolyeik Roby You're too teenage, you're Ḳáaganshí Ida honey hi Janice Taff August Tlingit ani Ekakaya Koolyeik Roby You're too teenage, you're Ḳáaganshí Ida honey hi Now, you happy?